What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer, Logan Landers, and joining me here today to talk about the Week 11 matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. Going to be taking place at, of course, Soldier Field, a heated rivalry amongst NFL history. Adds another chapter this upcoming Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern on Fox is where you can check this game out. Help me break this game down and giving his prediction today, of course, Jay McLovin from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. Jay, how are you doing, my friend? And let's talk about this game. A lot of history here, and we get to see Jordan Love and, of course, Caleb Williams gets to have his first crack at Green Bay. How do you think this is going to go this upcoming Sunday?
Yeah, absolutely, Logan, man. It's good to be here, brother. So, you're looking at the Packers that are third in the NFC North at 6-3. And then you're looking at the Bears at 4-5 at the bottom of the NFC North. And, of course, your top dogs are Detroit at 1 and then Minnesota at 2. So right now you got basically a battle of Green Bay trying to, either get into the wild card playoff or at least B, stay in the hunt. And this is the game. For the Bears, this is just trying to figure out who the hell is your quarterback and what are you going to do with it? Top of game. So let's start off with the Packers. You got Jordan Love at 147 of 240 attempts at 15.20 on the yardage. 15-10 is a touchdown to interception ratio, which absolutely sucks. And then you got Caleb Williams at 178 of 294 attempts at a little over almost 1,800 yards. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
At 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, which is absolutely in the garbage dumpster in terms of interception to touchdown ratio. So that already tells you everything you need to know. Neither one of these quarterbacks are playing at an extremely well type of level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you got to break it down. But I will tell you this. I give the advantage just slightly to Love in this category.
Fair.
And I'm going to tell you about more why I give the edge to him in a second. Then you look at Josh Jacobs at 158 carries at 762 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's a 4.8 yard per carry average, which is not bad. About medium to medium good. If you're a medium state person, then Josh Jacobs is your guy. When you look at Swift for the Bears at 141 carries at 564 yards and 4 touchdowns, he's an even flat 4 yards per carry average. So if Josh is medium, if Love is medium, and if Jacobs is medium, then Williams is probably well done. And Swift is probably medium well, if you're looking at that. I always say a good steak is medium rare. So just let that be your guide as to what the hell it is I'm talking about. Then when you look at the receivers, you got Josh Reed at 36 catches at 630 yards or 670 yards, whichever way my thing is writing, at 3 touchdowns, compared to Odunze for the Bears at 28 at 414, which, by the way, was the number 1 draft pick for those guys, and 1 touchdown. I got to tell you, man, I'll be honest with you. I think the Packers are pretty much controlling every statistical category offensively to the Chicago Bears. What a time to be alive. Let's talk about Chicago for a second. They just fired their offensive coordinator, Wardron. Is that the only thing they did to do? No, they got to do a lot more than just that, but that's the first step. Caleb Williams is 16 of 30, 120 yards, sacked 9 times on the last time out. Guy's not looking good. He's not playing good. This is supposed to be the generational guy. This is the guy that wanted a piece of the NFL franchise that he joined when he signed his first contract, but yet he's playing like dog poo-poo. Let's talk about Chicago for a minute. Every quarterback since Jim Kelly has sucked. Let's just put it that way. I'm not even going to list them out individually. Every quarterback since Jim McMahon. Jim McMahon. I'm sorry. I'm putting two names together. Every quarterback since Jim McMahon that has played for the Chicago Bears has sucked. So is it the quarterback, the offensive line, the offensive coordinator, the coach, the GM, the ownership? Like, what the hell is the problem? Because you change out quarterbacks like I change out underwear. But yeah, you still got the same freaking problem, which is a lack of production from the offensive unit. What a time to be alive. You bring in all the top name wide receivers and running backs you could bring in, but you do nothing for your O-line. You do nothing for the right scheme. You do nothing for development, but yet you want them to be something better than what they really are. What a time to be alive. Look at the Bears offense. They went up against New England. They're pretty much last in just about every statistical category. Offensively, they are almost last. When you look at their record, they are literally coming off a 3-game losing streak to New England, Arizona, and Washington. Now, I'll give you the Washington game because Washington's got a great team. As a matter of fact, your boy Jalen Daniels over there is making Caleb Williams look like a scrub. Let's put it, that's how bad Caleb Williams is looking. We'll get more to Caleb Williams in a second. But then you got Arizona, and Arizona's playing good ball right now. I mean, they're not playing bad. I think they're top of their division, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you're correct.
Yeah. So you got Arizona, you got Washington, which actually Washington was top of the East, and now Philadelphia kind of snuck in there. So now they're riding number 2 spot, but they're still playing great ball. So now you got to look at the New England game. Now I'll give you a pass on the first 2, but New England, seriously, bro? New England? Nah, I'm not giving you a pass on New England. That's your 3-game losing streak. When you look at over at the Packers, their last game was a loss to Detroit, 24-14. I'm going to give the Packers a little bit of leeway there because Detroit is playing some damn good ball right now, and it's hard to fight that fight on when you're playing the best team in the North and they're putting up 24 points on you. So what did that tell me? That tells me that Jacobs right now. Oh, by the way, before I get to that, Jacobs is also listed as questionable to play in this game. I think he plays. He probably just won't be at 100%. But right now, when the Chicago Bears locker room, when I say the locker room, I'm saying quite a few of the players in Chicago's organization is asking for Caleb Williams to be benched in favor of Bagent or however you want to say his last name that nobody even knows about or cares about. That tells you everything you need to know about the Chicago freaking Bears. So to wrap this up in a summary, Green Bay is going to destroy Chicago. At best, Chicago might have a decent defense that could maybe make it somewhat interesting. But at the end of the day, it's going to be Green Bay over Chicago. It's going to be decisive. I'm going to say 35-14 decisiveness. But at the end of the day, Chicago is not worried about this Green Bay game. Chicago got so many issues going on right now that it's going to be interesting come next season, which I thoroughly believe Eberflus will be gone. Logan?
So, Jay, to touch on what you said about the veterans potentially rumored to bench Williams, I did find a quote here to just add some more substance and to just show that, we're not coming up with stuff and pulling it off the wall. This is actually reported here. This is an article I'm reading on Bleacher Report, in that they have a quote from Adam Schefter, who is an ESPN reporter. In this quote, it says, there were conversations. I don't know how close they got, but yes, there were conversations about whether one of the solutions was to bench the quarterback. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported Thursday during Get Up. Then he added, but to bench him, to give him a break, to try and save him. And Jay, I say that because he was the number 1 overall pick, correct?
Yes.
Well, this Bears team is number 2 in the NFL in terms of sacks allowed. Number 1 pick, number 2 team in terms of sacks allowed. That's a recipe for disaster. I don't care who's at quarterback. So, yes, while Williams has not maybe lived up to that number 1 overall pick, you can look at that O-line and say, you're not up to par either. Because it's a team game. It's a team game now. So I'll give him a little bit of a reprieve there, right? Because that O-line ain't getting it done. Now, Chicago, we know they spent a lot of money here recently trying to add to this team, trying to get better. They locked up Cole Kmet not too long ago. Solid player. But Jay, where's your O-line? Where's the O-line at? I don't understand it. Also just this past week, they released Nate Davis. And you might say, who's Nate Davis? Well, Jay, Nate Davis is a guard who they signed last year to a 3-year, $30 million contract. They cut him earlier this week.
Yeah.
They said, all right, we whiffed on this one. We're going to pay you to not play for this team.
That's something.
So that is just a glimpse at how bad things are in Chicago right now. Now, Green Bay 6-3, respectable record. Also 3-1 on the road this year. Jordan Love has had maybe not the best follow-up to his last season. Who, I mean, we saw last year, Jay. This is someone who, was touted for years to be the next guy. He looked good last year, right? Remember the playoff run, and Green Bay was doing all this good stuff with him, Aaron Jones, and they were making some good moves, and they got pretty good run in the playoffs. I thought they had a good showing, and they've like I said, they've done good this year, but it hasn't been as electric maybe as I would have thought it would be. Like I said, they subbed out Jones. They brought in Jacobs in terms of your running back core. And Josh Jacobs, he said, might not play. We don't know yet. He is listed, like you said, we're not sure if he's going to play in this game. But a 4.8 average, that's middle of the road. Like you said, that's, I believe it was 17th or 18th, give or take, in terms of league average. You'd like to have your guys in the fives. That's where you're like, okay, that's solid. So he's just a little bit underperforming, but he's still getting you a good chunk of yards, 762 overall, 3 touchdowns though. And when you look at this team, they don't really run the ball a whole lot. They don't get into the end zone a lot. They only have 6 rushing touchdowns on the season. And I mean, we've talked about this Green Bay team, Jay, with their receiving core and how they really don't have a true number one per se. They've just kind of got a cast of guys there. Jaden Reed's your top receiver right now, 620 in terms of yards. He's got 36 catches on the year, averages 17.2 yards per catch. So that's your big play threat right there. He's got 3 touchdowns on the season. It's really just whoever's open will throw it to you. There is no, locked on number one. You could say it was Reed. But I mean, he's got 208 more yards than Romeo Dobbs behind him. So I mean, they've got some good talent, but no one's really been, that number one go-to guy. Yes, I'll give you I'll give you all these catches. You're going to get 15 balls thrown at you every Sunday. Haven't really seen that yet. There's a lot of guys with a lot of targets this season. Then when you look at the defense, I mean, honestly, Jay, both these teams are pretty much even on defense when you look at their stats. When you look at Chicago, you see that they have a total of 24 sacks on the season. Green Bay, they've got 22. I mean, that's neck and neck. Interceptions, Green Bay's got 10. When you look at Chicago, they've got 8. Pretty much close there. So to me, it's going to be one lost on offense. And as you mentioned, Bears have a new offensive coordinator. I don't know how he's going to do. I don't know. I can't tell you. It's his first game. Either he's going to be electric or it's going to be, I would hope, better than what they've done in recent weeks, Jay, because they have been just awful on offense since that loss to Washington. On the Hail Marys, we all know. So in the 4 wins you have this year, 24-17 against Tennessee, 24-18 against the Los Angeles Rams, 36-10 against Carolina, 35-16 against Jacksonville. But then, Jay, it all just came crashing down. You only put up 15 points against Washington, 9 points against Arizona, and only 3 points against New England. And New England isn't a world beater this year. They're not great. They're not awful. They're 3 points. 3 points. And the running game hasn't been there. I'm with you on this one, man. I think Green Bay is going to take this one. Final score, I'll go 36-14. I think Chicago put up a couple more points, but I don't know.
One more point than I gave. I gave 35-14. You said 36-14.
I got just one
that
point.
Just to be different, Logan. Is this what we're doing now?
I think so, Jay. I think so.
Okay.
We can't have the exact same score. Come on now.
I'm just saying. You only said 36, so you can be a little bit different, but you basically agree with me. So just say 35.
Yeah, we're pretty much sharing a brain cell right now with this game.
What are we doing?
I know what we're going to be doing. I know what we're going to be doing. We're going to be watching what we think the Packers are going to be beating up the Bears.
Yeah.
That's what we think. Chicago, you got some room for improvement. Maybe with this new offensive coordinator, you can flip our score and you can get 36 compared to 14. But, Jay, I always go off the fact of you got to show me something first. And it's week 1 of a brand new offensive coordinator for this team. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell you what to go off of. I can just tell you off of what this team's done in recent weeks, and that has not been much of anything. That's been 3 consecutive losses and also 3 games of putting up less than 20 points. So they got to do something. That's why they made this change, midway through the season, a little bit over that. So I can see why they made the move. I'm not surprised. This team has been rough. I'm Matt Eberflus, getting a little hotter at the collar, Jay. I would think especially after this week, because this is the Packers, Jay. This is your rivals. This is a team who's been beating you up for how many years now?
A long time.
You got to win this game, or at least play it closer. Something. Just put up a better showing than what you have recently. But we both think the Packers going to roll. Win here from you, though, in our comments, Facebook, YouTube. How's this going to roll? Will the Packers get a dominant win, or will the Bears, in a sense, shock the world, shock the Packers, and get the win on this Sunday afternoon game? Let's get Jay McLovin. Appreciate you, my friend, coming on the show, talking about this upcoming matchup. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Until next time, we'll talk to you on another live episode.